There's a good chance you've been avoiding buying a house because of a word on your credit report. And there's a real chance you don't even know which word it is. Collection, charge off. Most people think they mean the same thing. They don't, and the difference might be the reason you've been sitting out for no good reason. I'm Brad Haines, a Washington mortgage loan originator. I work with first-time buyers and credit challenge files the buyer's other lenders turn away. This one's for the person who hasn't even tried, who looked at their credit, saw something scary, and decided the answer was no before they ever asked the question. Let's fix that. Here's what I see all the time. Someone tells me, I can't buy, I've got a collection. And I pull their credit, and it's not a collection. It's a charge-off, or the reverse. And I don't blame them one bit. Because on your credit report, these two things sit right next to each other. They both mean there's a debt here that didn't get paid the normal way. And they both look like bad news. But they are not the same thing. They're two different events. They mean two different things about your debt. And this is the part that matters. A mortgage lender treats them differently. So let's actually define them in plain English. Start with the one people understand the least, the charge-off. A charge-off does not mean your debt disappeared. It doesn't mean you're off the hook. What it means is this. The original company you owed the credit card, the lender gave up on collecting it themselves. After a few months of non-payment, their accounting rules basically forced them to declare it a loss on their own books. They charge it off. That's an accounting move on their side. It's them saying, we don't expect to get this. It is not a statement about whether you can get a mortgage. You might still owe the money. It still shows on your report. But the word charge-off is describing what the creditor did with their books, not a verdict on you. Now the collection. A collection is what often happens next. The original creditor gives up, but instead of just eating the loss, they sell that debt, usually for pennies on the dollar, to a collection agency. Or they hand it off to one, and now that agency's whole job is to get you to pay. So the simplest way to hold it in your head, a charge-off is the original creditor writing it off. A collection is a debt that got handed to somebody else whose entire business is collecting it. Same underlying story, a bill that didn't get paid, but a different chapter of it. And sometimes the same debt is both. Charged off by the original company, then sold to a collection agency. 2 lines on your report. 1 debt, okay. So why does any of this matter if you're trying to buy a house? Because the assumption underneath I've got a collection, or I've got a charge-off, is almost always, I have to pay this off before anyone will approve me. And very often that's just not true. I'm not going to get into every number here. That's another video. But here's the headline. Depending on the loan and the situation, a charge-off frequently doesn't have to be paid off at all to get a mortgage. Not reduced, not settled. And collections have their own rules that are far more forgiving than people expect, which means the thing you've been treating as a locked door, a lot of the time, it was never locked. You just never tried the handle. 2 honest caveats, because I'm not going to pretend it's all clean. 1, there's an exception for mortgage debt specifically. A charged off or foreclosed home loan has waiting periods, and it's treated more strictly than a charged off credit card. So charge off being friendly has limits, and a past mortgage is where it gets stricter. 2, every lender applies its own rules on top of the programs. So the only way to know what your report actually means is to have someone read it. Not guess at it, read it. So if you've been on the sidelines because of a word you saw on your credit report, a collection, a charge-off, something you're not even sure how to define, that's exactly the thing worth a 10-minute conversation. Not to apply, just to find out what you're actually looking at, because there's a real chance it's smaller than it feels. The call's free. And the worst case is you finally know where you stand instead of guessing. And if you're a real estate agent with a buyer who disqualified themselves over something on their credit, send them my way. That's the file I work.